Here we are on the first tee with Mark Brooks, the young Texan, 31-year-old touring pro.
This is a 1-iron off the first tee, headed toward the right side of the fairway.
That's Mark Rolfing, who will be with that group as we move out on the early part of the course. Just on the edge there. The other ball you saw there was Tom Kite playing with him today. Tom Kite at 42 has won more money than any player in the history of the game, but still looking for that first major. Always good to get off that first tee, no matter who you are. And that was a good one. Let's bring in now Peter Allis, who will be my companion in commentary here for the next hour and a half or so. Peter, good to see you as always.
Thank you, Jim, and it's going to be, I think, a splendid afternoon's play. This first hole, 373 yards. The wind coming in off the sea. The sun's come out. The wind is driving the incoming tide up against the cliffs, and from this sort of sheltered position with the lodge and the houses all on the right-hand side, the start looks fairly simple. One thing to remember here, the greens are very small. They average out at about 3,900 square feet. It's a tight course, in and out of the buildings and the trees, and then suddenly out into the open air. And Ballesteros here made a good start, but in trouble at the fifth.
This is the par 3.
Well, that wasn't too shabby.
He's in trouble no more.
I think he might have put a bit of chewing gum on the ball before he played that one. It's going to be a very difficult day. The wind, as I say, is brisk and strong. The rough is up. Paul Azinger's made a good start, but he really is in trouble. You've got to just maneuver it round the course onto the fairway. Try not to three-putt, and I think the winner is going to definitely win today, although some people will miss shots, drop shots, have their own particular golfing disasters. But I think today we will see this championship won, Jim.
Let's take a look at the USGA course setup, the way they've done it here. The fairways are 35 yards average. That's a little bit wider than they normally are in the US Open. Intermediate rough, 2 inches today. So you can usually get a club head behind that. That's not too bad. Even you and I could probably do that, see? That's all right. But the other one, the primary rough, 4 to 5 inches depending on where you are. And someone was saying that who played today that it's clumpier, that you get even worse lies than before, and that it's dried out a bit. This was yesterday with Gil Morgan, for example, and Fred Couples. You can see how tough it is. But apparently the ball is going down further into it today. As for the greens, well, they try to get them to measure 10.5 feet on the stimp meter, so-called because a Mr. Stimpson invented it, which gives you an idea of the speed of the greens. There it is. If you see a little brownish tinge there, that's because these greens are a Poanua grass, which tends to look that way. Now, Tom Kite.
He's got exactly 150 yards back to the flag. The pin's cut in the right-hand corner today at number 1. And with the wind coming off the water, it's coming from the right. This will be a very tough pin placement to get at.
Nick Faldo parred the first hole, so he's at 2 under, 2 shots out of the lead.
It looks like it's now.
Morgan by 1 over Kite, Woosnam and Brooks by 2 over Faldo, Azinger, Lehman, and Hallberg.
This is an 8-iron. He'll need to land it on the front part of the green because he won't be able to make it spin coming out of the rough. Good shot there.
Okay. On the green. Now here's Gary Hallberg up on the second hole. We mentioned earlier that a lot of these players can get on this green on par 5 hole and 2. Well, he's done that. So this is for an eagle. A lot of the pins are up front today, apparently, too, Peter. We'll get to that later, huh?
Well, I think it really is a day for just finding the green today. It's easier said than done, but that's got to be the game plan, and hope you don't three-putt.
That would have put Gary Hallberg in a tie for the lead, but the tap-in birdie put him to 3 under, a shot behind. Now Mark Brooks.
He got a little unlucky here. His ball rolled right up against the first cut of rough. So even though it's in the fairway, the rough is going to affect the shot. 146 yards.
Yeah, that's all right. You see where the flag is today. very tight on the right-hand side of the green as they come up. The wind's from that side, from the bunker side. So anyone who's going to fire at the pins today is taking an awful lot of risk. Tremendous risk. Here's Raymond at the 7th.
Shortest hole in major championship golf, playing at 112 today.
That's a 7-iron, and the hole is playing extremely difficult here today. A lot of wind.
That's interesting, and that tells you something about this 7th hole. A player like Ray Floyd hitting a 7-iron, 112 yards downhill. He'd normally be hitting a very easy wedge, right? Par 5-6, Azinger's 3rd.
Good punch up and over the hill. And leaves it out, catches the trouble, and every one of these holes is going to have its own personal problems today. The rough is high. The weather forecast was, as per the last few days, rather dull and heavy, and suddenly a bit of breeze has come up, cleared the clouds away, and it's made the course, well, it had teeth before, now it's got fangs inches long.
Well, here's your man Faldo. Peter, he's been lurking all week long and is well positioned right now.
Well, he chipped very close at the first hole, made it an easy par. Now he has 239 yards back to the hole on this par 5. He only wants to carry the ball, though, about 210 or 215 the way the wind's blowing. Probably a 3-iron. And he's pulled it a little.
And in that deep stuff. Remember, 4 to 5 inches in that cut of the rough. We're going to move back now again to the first tee. It's time for the next group to go off, nearing the end of the starters. Ron Reed.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the final pairing of the United States Open Championship. The referee is Mr. Stuart Block of Wheeling, West Virginia. Mr. Block is president of the United States Golf Association. The observer is Mr. Reg Murphy of Baltimore, Maryland. Mr. Murphy is vice president of the USGA. The special observer is Mr. Joe Carr of Dublin, England. Ireland, excuse me.
Ron.
Wars have started for life.
Oh, wow.
Royal and Ancient Golf Club of St. Andrews, Scotland.
Well, for those of you watching in Ireland and England, take it easy.
The players are Ian Woosnam of Oswestry, England. And Gil Morgan of Edmond, Oklahoma. Hey, Mr. Woosnam has the honor. Play away, please.
Peter, it's a long, there's a quote from Ian Woosnam. First 6 or 7 holes, try to get yourself to 3 or 4 under par. After that, try to hold on. Well, that's certainly the story today. Easier said than done.
Seems pretty reasonable. And Wales is not in England. I'm sure there are those of you who like geography. There is England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales.
Thank you very much. It's a long way from Oswestry to Edmond, but they'll be playing together all the way today.
Well, he's a good player in the wind, and he has power too, so that's 2 things in his favour. His putting stroke gets a bit suspect when the greens get a bit slippery and shiny, so there'll be so many games to watch today, so many players to watch, including this man, still in with a great chance of victory.
You're going to see some gorgeous pictures today from the Goodyear blimp overhead and from all our cameras around the course on all 18 holes. Well, a good start for the good doctor. Words of encouragement you heard from the gallery. Some of them didn't know who he was when the week began here, and now they call him Doc. Back up on the green of the first hole, this is Tom Kite for a birdie.
This is an extremely fast putt. Down the hill, down grain.
For the lead. Tom Kite, who's never won a major, is tied for the lead in the U.S. Open. Well, well, well. There's the way they stand. We return with more golf action from the 1992 U.S. Open after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
ABC Sports exclusive coverage of the 1992 United States Open Championship continues.
Nick Faldo of Britain looking at a birdie putt on the second hole, the par 5. He went for the green in 2, caught the rough, but came up to here with his third shot. So that'll be a par putt. Gil Morgan.
That was from 165, downwind.
Even downwind, came up quite short.
Ian Woosnam has the same distance. It was very closest to who was away. Has a little better angle than Gil had, coming from the left-hand side of the fairway. Wind a little out of the right, but almost solid behind the players.
And it is pretty strong, even on the first hole here, which is inland, right?
It's blowing definitely harder on the inland holes than I've seen it all week.
Well, wait till you get to 8, 9, and 10.
As well, like that blimp.
Hold your line. Hold it.
Hold your line. Well, there it is in the far distant corner of the green. You know, Bob Rosberger's out on the fairway with them. Played this course first when he was 14 years old. He shot 68. He knows the course. Here's Rossi.
As is always the case at the U.S. Open, tee shots are very important, and that will be the case here at Pebble Beach. The fairways are firm, and the ball can easily bounce off into the heavy rough. The outgoing 9, a wonderful combination of 4 inland holes and 5 along the water. The front 9 is the easier of the 2 9s, and one of the shortest the pros will play all year at 3,284 yards. The driver will not come into play very often, except at the par 5s. Now for some specific tee shots, let's go to our colleagues on the golf course. First to Mark Rolfing at the 3rd hole.
Number 3 is the first real difficult tee shot of the round. The USGA has installed a new tee for the championship this year, and it's added just enough length to the hole to change this shot dramatically. There's a huge ditch, sometimes called a barranca, that crosses the fairway and meanders down the entire left-hand side of the hitting area. The tee shot here has to carry some 230 yards to get over that barranca, and that means most of the players in the field are going to have to hit a driver off this tee. Additionally, number 3 is the only real dogleg left at Pebble Beach. Now let's move forward to Judy Rankin at number 7.
This is the shortest hole in major championship golf. The par 3 7th measures at 107 yards this week. Playing from an elevated tee, though, it can play even shorter than that. It's a small, well-bunkered green that perches farther out into Carmel Bay than any other point on this golf course. And if and when the wind comes up, it not only plays havoc with the golf ball, but also with a player's club choice that can be anything from a sand wedge to a mid-iron. But in the event that it is a wedge, it's not an easy hole. A birdie becomes imperative when you're facing the tough par 4s ahead. Now let's go to Jerry Pate at the 9th.
The 9th hole, 464 yards, is the longest par 4 here at Pebble Beach, but it's not necessarily a driver for these competitors. The player has 2 options. He can either take a long iron and try to lay the ball up on top of the hill with a flat lie, leaving himself a 2 or a 3 iron to a very, very difficult green. Or he can take his driver and try to drive the ball over the hill, leaving himself a short or a middle iron, but the most difficult part about that is he has a severe downhill lie. The tough thing on number 9 is to make the decision. Do you hit the driver or do you hit the iron?
Now back to Gil Morgan on the first hole.
From 45 feet.
The leader, but now joint leader with Tom Kite. Okay, and that for the par.
Yeah, that was a good putt from such long range. If you can just get that little putt in, that's a good nerve steadying opening hole. Nice tee shot on the green, 2 putts. That'll be all right.